Yo, 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 what's going on? Here we go. This is the NRW, where nerds rule the world. I am Kuya P, your Babinka boy, your Dobro, leader of the Cine Gang and the Holla Holla homies. And over on the West Coast, the ruler of FMA Martial Arts School, my boy. Welcome, Mr. Big Boy Eskrimador. What's up, bro?
What's up? What's up, everybody? Oh my goodness. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays to everybody. How you all doing tonight?
Yo, good to see you, Kuya Francis, man.
Yeah, it's great to see you, brother. Great.
Make sure when his episode drops of my Show Pal show, you check it out. This is an amazing brother. He made me cry.
Thank you.
But you'll have to listen to it to understand why.
Thank you very, very much. No, I'm just honored. I was just honored to be part of it, and I'm honored to be part of this one. So I'm really, really excited. You know, I mean, if there's one thing that we can say about COVID, it's forcing us to connect with people we don't normally connect with. So, you know, much love to everybody for allowing me to be a part of this.
Yo, dude, you're dope, man, and I'm very thankful for to find ways of being thankful despite the chaos that is here.
Everything. Exactly.
Yo, again, like you said, this helps provide means for cats to get together. You being all the way out on the West Coast, me being on the East Coast, man.
Right.
Yo, but for those that don't know who we are, if you're tuned into Nerds Rule the World, you've seen me before. You know, I've been doing reviews and I've been, meeting and interviewing a lot of people throughout the years, and both in comics and the acting world and all various genres of industry. Appreciate y'all always showing love. I met this again, like I said earlier, met this talented brother by my Show Pal Show podcast, where we talk about amazing Filipinos in various industries. And this guy who runs Filipino Martial Arts School, FMA School, you need to check that out. I'll have the information in the description.
Yep.
Guro Francis Serrano, man, just an amazing guy and a super nerd like me. So check out, we already kind of started getting the ball rolling. We have a amazing review that he did for a book called Damn Cursed Children from Source Point Press by my guys Howard Wong and Josh Stafford that he covered, and there'll be many more. This relationship is going to continue. I love this guy. He's a cool cat.
Sure.
We got a great one tonight, man.
I'm excited about it.
Learning that this guy's about martial arts and being this past year, I'll admit, I didn't watch Cobra Kai when it was on YouTube. So I caught up this past year due to this COVID situation, checked out season 1 and 2 on Netflix. And now I'm eager to do season 3 and coming soon, but you're going to find out. Me and Big Boy are going to talk about season 3 shortly. But right now we were like, hold on, before we do that, we got to talk about the OG, where it came from.
We have to, because you can't understand Cobra Kai, like the depth and the conflicts between the characters without understanding where it all started from.
Yeah.
So it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I know for those millennials, for those Gen Zers, I know you guys are into the vintage movies. Shut up, they're just called movies for our generation.
I know, right? You make us feel old.
I know, exactly. But these movies were like what, in like 80s, right, when these movies came out. But
yes,
this is when movies really focus more on the stories, because we didn't have so much CGI as much back then, right? But it focused a lot on the story, and this is why we love talking about the original Karate Kid and how much of an impact it made on my life, for all the nerds' lives, as well as even within the martial arts industry. And it's just an amazing story, and we're so excited to talk about it. So let's talk about first season 1. Let's just give you a premise about that, brother. Go ahead and start it off.
All right, the very first Karate Kid came out in 1984, introducing us to Daniel LaRusso and Cobra Kai, Mr. Miyagi, Pat Morita, rest in peace. Just an amazing film. The essential premise is there's this family that moves from Jersey, or is it Jersey or New York?
It was from Jersey, and then they moved to Reseda,
California.
Yeah, like Southern California, LA area, yes.
And so, they just kind of moved on because life was kind of what it was in New Jersey. So his mother had a better opportunity out in Reseda. So we don't exactly learn what job she took, but little Daniel LaRusso, everything he knew was Jersey. So he was kind of a little apprehensive, but his mom, the father was in the picture, and was there to support his mom. Moves out to Cali, and Daniel starts up this new school, this new life on the West Coast. and
Right.
we quickly find that he is bullied by a young man by the name of Johnny Lawrence, played amazingly by William Zabka, and
Yep. Yep.
this whole kind of crew of karate kids that have dirt bikes, and just uh, it was very well written. And having because we decided to do this before we do the Cobra Kai stuff, I think it still stands the test of time.
It still
It is
stands.
very
Absolutely
period
does.
in itself as a story,
Right.
but
Right.
I think all of us know bullies and knows school life and just wanting
Right.
to be there and supportive for our parents, but at the same time, you know, hating life still. Like, like I don't want to be here and I'm getting bullied all the
Right.
time. And that's what
Right.
little Daniel
Absolutely.
LaRusso
Yeah.
goes through.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, I know, like, especially for a lot of people who listen to the show are, are immigrants who migrated here. So it's kind of like, that's why it resonated with me a lot, because when I moved here in 1987, it's like it's literally a whole new world. So I connected with Daniel right away, how he felt like to be a fish out of water, to be in a new place, and you no friends, don't know anybody. It was, oh my goodness, I totally related. I completely related to that story. And then, meeting a bunch of, you're just trying to find your place in school. And then, you got all these bullies, you got all these bullies who are, they have the mob mentality where they have a bunch of guys who are martial artists, karate artists, karatista, if they like to call it in the Philippines, right? And then all of a sudden, they were the apex predators in the high school. They were the apex predators, and now Daniel is the fresh cat, the new prey kind of stuff. And that's what he related to. But then he, at the same time, he didn't want to be a victim. I think that's one of the most important storylines about that. He didn't want to be a victim. He wasn't trying to be a bully, but he was damn sure making sure that he wasn't a victim either. Maybe that's where the Jersey toughness comes from. He's like, I ain't gonna be no punk, kind of stuff. And of course, in everything, it involves a beautiful girl between Johnny and Daniel. That kind of just, I don't know if it started it, but it definitely put rocket fuel in it. So but played by Elizabeth Shue, Ali. I mean, gorgeous young girl. But yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things where, he was just trying to find his place in this world. So yeah.
Yeah. So getting bullied, meets this amazing girl, continues to get bullied because he's now with this girl who was Johnny Lawrence's ex. So obviously
Right.
there's going to be beef there,
Right.
and continues to get bullied. But then the janitor, well, not janitor, but the super of the apartment
The
building that they
handyman of
live
the
at
apartment.
is the amazing Mr. Miyagi, played beautifully by
Beautifully.
Pat Morita, and
Absolutely. Rest in peace, brother.
finds out that he knows karate.
Right.
And so that is how he stands up to the bully, because he eventually gets tutored
Right.
by Mr. Miyagi,
Mr. Miyagi.
leading into our ender of the film, where he then competes in a tournament with Johnny Lawrence. But before we even
Right.
get there, I'm sorry, I'm kind of skipping over. So Daniel fights back, as you said, and
Right.
he learns through Mr. Miyagi. But
Right.
there's also just a standout character on the other side, with Johnny
Right.
Lawrence. He is being taught by Kreese is the character's name. Yeah,
John
Kreese,
Kreese. Yeah. John Kreese. Yeah.
played by the amazing Martin Cove,
Right.
and just brilliant. Who's a former military who now runs this school, but
Right.
just no mercy.
No mercy. That's it. There. You don't show mercy. I mean, you could totally tell that John Kreese is battle hardened.
Yeah.
He was battle. He must have seen some crazy stuff in the war. I think it was the Vietnam War that he was a veteran
Yeah.
and he saw some crazy things. And he saw. So I guess when he became a martial arts instructor, he used his own, he showed that he was trying to push out there. Showing weakness, you die. And so that's why he was trying to instill that in his students. Don't show you're either the victim or the prey. You're either the prey or the hunter or the predator, kind of stuff. You're either the victim or the strong one. So so that was a major thing. Now I want to point out that the relationship with Daniel Daniel was like, actually, I remember there's one scene he was watching, he was reading a book or something in martial arts, and you know, he's trying to do it, and then Mr. Miyagi goes, "What is that?" "Oh, it's karate." And then he's trying to educate Mr. Miyagi in karate, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then, you know, he just does his thing, right? I love that. I think that was the height of hubris, but you know, that he, you know, this guy didn't know anything, right? And of course, why how would Daniel know that, right? So I think I love that character, and just to kind of touch a little bit about how the mom, I mean, this is the 80s, right? So let's just keep in mind, this is the 80s. A single mom moving across country, that's not very common, you know, as far as the story arcs is concerned, right? So this is the time when they still said you need a man for everything. You know, you need a full family. You're not a family unless you are a complete unit. But they're leaving New Jersey. They're saying goodbye to everything and everyone, and then moving all the way to across the country. And I love it. Like the mom was just trying to like, don't, did I mention there was a pool? There was a swimming pool. Yeah. And then like everything, oh my gosh, it's like, oh, but there's a pool, right? And then they get there, the pool is not work. It's like it's drained, and it's like there's no, like it doesn't work. And he's like, okay, I'm sorry about the pool, right? So it was just that. And then Mr. Miyagi being just the little old, you know, handyman or super of the apartment building, you know, kind of stuff. It's just like, okay, just kind of fixes things, and just does his own thing. And I love that that's how it kind of started, you know. And but yeah, then now the moment that really came to head was like, you know, Daniel was befriending Mr. Miyagi even before the karate stuff. Even before the karate stuff, he was starting to befriend Mr. Miyagi. And I think one of the most iconic scene in that movie was when Mr. Miyagi, he's like, how can he go to the dance and not be seen? So Mr. Miyagi he turned him into a shower. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. But that's when Daniel was in that scene, in that section of the movie. That's when he decided, I'm not gonna be no punk, and I'm gonna spray some water to all these guys who are smoking, you know, glaucoma medicine in the bathroom. And you know, that glaucoma, you know, 18, 17, that's a dangerous glaucoma years. And then sprayed water, and then that's when they got chased, and then that's when they started beating up Daniel. And that's when Mr. Miyagi jumps out of nowhere and start beating up these kids, right? And beating up is a really harsh term to say, but he was that. I mean, as a martial artist, we have to be very careful what we say. We usually, no, I was defending myself, you know, he was trying to hurt me. But no, he was beating up these kids, man. I mean, sometimes some of these kids gets a little fresh, and you're just like, ooh, I'm gonna pray for you. You know, you're gonna need a lot of Jesus, kind of stuff. But you know, but Mr. Miyagi was definitely defending Daniel, and then that's when Daniel realized that this guy knows real karate and real martial arts, and that's when their relationship evolved into now like student. I want to be your student. I want to be your student. So, and then Mr. Miyagi actually rejected him. He actually said, no, why don't we just talk to the teacher? Let's you know, cooler heads, wiser minds prevail. And that's when they went to Cobra Kai, right? With Daniel, with Mr. Miyagi, Daniel in tow, walks into their studio, and then they were giving their creed, you know, like no mercy, you know, mercy's for the weak, kind of stuff, right? And that's when Mr. Miyagi realized that the only way Daniel was not going to be bullied is for Daniel to finally, you know, stand up to these bullies in a more equal, you know, environment. And Mr. Miyagi even shot a deal with John Kreese, Sensei Kreese, saying that, oh, you know, fight at tournament, right? And it's like, now give boy, you know, like nobody harmed the kid for like for all the time that they need to train. And so of course they followed their sensei's rules. And that's when the beginning, when, you know, that's when the actual relationship between martial arts instructor sensei to Daniel, and it was just such a beautiful like kind of lead into that.
Oh yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, so it's a beautiful lead into it.
So one of the things I really enjoyed is the differences and well, actually, I'm sorry. Let me rewind that. Uh, Speaking on the Cobra Kai, Martin Cove, Kreese, you know, you can even though they were the villain, you can understand why, you know, like you said, he went through some stuff in Vietnam. Like you can
Yeah.
see it and just understand what he went through. Although, you know, it's a very Western, philosophy in a way. I like how they kind of spoke without directly put in your face. Then you
Right.
have the Eastern philosophy, because we also saw that Pat Morita, his character, Mr. Miyagi, was in a war as well,
Yes.
and fought.
Yes.
But yet he has a different philosophy of life, where
Right.
it's all about protection. We don't, just because we can, we don't. We don't fight just because we know how to do that. And
Well, I
so I
mean,
love
I
kind of those balance
yeah,
of the East and the West, and the
right.
train of thought, and the importance. And then, well, when we discuss part 2 and 3,
We'll dive
it
into
kind
more into
of
that.
continues there. But
Right. We'll
just
dive in. Let me just say this: that as far as when you start martial arts, your thing is I want to. Some people want to start because they think they can be a badass, and some people want to just get workout or get some exercise, and some people really just want to they want to be able to defend themselves, right? But then as you actually, the more knowledge you get within martial arts, we actually the mindset really more changes about martial arts becomes not as a way to fight, right? Not as a way to hurt other people, not as a way to kill people, but the mindset changes, the philosophy changes, as in I want to be able to defend my loved ones. I want to keep everyone alive. So I train not to hurt you, but to keep my loved ones alive. And I think that's the difference between John Kreese's philosophy, where he's more like I'm a badass. Well, Mr. Miyagi is like saying no, we just use this to protect our loved ones, and that's it. There's really no other reason for us to practice martial arts.
but yeah, and to me, it's a different train of thought, though, from the East and the
Right,
West,
absolutely,
in the
absolutely,
way of thought.
absolutely,
We're
absolutely.
more of a protective community people as Filipinos, and so
Right,
that
right, right,
I loved that balance, and just beautifully done in the film, and very believable. That's why I think it still
right.
stands the test of time, that almost everyone
Absolutely.
can relate to the situations, and just the pigheadedness. And I was also checking out after I reintroduced myself to the films, is a lot of people say Daniel LaRusso was the bully, and there's a lot of moments of cockiness there that he had. But to go back to the film, you'll see it from the film, in that he was getting bullied. So it's obvious. I'm going to protect myself. He learns from Mr. Miyagi, and then so
Right.
they set up this thing against Cobra Kai, to that we'll compete in this tournament, but you leave the guy alone.
All Valley tournament. Yeah, all Valley tournament. Yeah.
And
So
then we get to the conclusion with the crane kick and everything. Um,
right. But before we get to the conclusion, I'm
yeah,
sorry, Patrick,
no,
but
go ahead, man, because there's like I don't. It's pretty much everything there is there in the story.
of
It,
course,
it doesn't
absolutely.
really go until part 2, but yeah.
No, so let me just, I mean, to me, this was the movie that made me say I want to do that. I want to do martial arts.
Oh, okay.
This was the movie. This was the movie. And the most, of course, the most iconic scene in the whole Karate Kid franchise is not the crane kick, but it's the wax on, wax off series, where
Yes.
Mr. Miyagi, you can totally tell the difference between new school karate or new school training as compared to old school training. New school training, you're in a dojang or dojo, and you have the fancy equipment and whatnot, right? Old school training, we don't have the fancy equipment, but you're gonna train and do your chores at the same time, right? Now, I admittedly, as a martial arts school instructor, I wish I knew how I can do that, where I can get my students to do my house, all the stuff I need to do around the house. And I'm like, this is training. Yeah, that's right. Change the oil of my car, rotate my tires, like, yeah, that's part of FMA. I don't have that skill. I absolutely don't have that skill. I don't have that skill. But the most iconic scene is when he did the whole wax on, paint the fence, sand the floor, and all of a sudden he was fighting. Now, what's so important about that, in many martial arts system, they teach you how to strike first. Mr. Miyagi was teaching him defensive move first. And so that's again, to me, that is the difference between the new style of teaching as compared to the old style of teaching, right? And the way Mr. Miyagi showed him, all of those techniques were all defensive techniques. None of that was offensive yet. And then there was a scene where they were on a boat, right? They were in a rowboat, and Daniel side goes, "When am I gonna learn to punch? Must learn how to swim." Daniel in the water. So
You have to learn how to stand.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to learn how to stand. So,
So
but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, so that's the most iconic scene. Being able to do your chores and learn martial arts at the same time, iconic. Most we cannot review Karate Kid without talking about that.
Oh no, definitely. You're right. Yeah, and I was trying to figure out a kind of a way to get to there, but exactly right. I'll never forget as a kid watching this film and just being mind blown that he was doing this in order to teach him that. And it
Right,
was like,
absolutely.
wow. So
Right,
kudos to the writers on that, on how they framed worked chores into he's actually really teaching him. So
right.
yeah, it was mind blowing. And I my daughter I didn't have her sit with me to watch this, but I can't wait to see the other people's reactions, because I know I was blown away as a kid
Right,
in
absolutely,
how the two came together, and just
absolutely.
really well done, really
It
well
was
done.
really well done, and of course, it does culminate to the point where, it, the Cobra Kai school. It's a huge school. It's one of the, I mean, it's one of the most successful school in that area, and it was Daniel, and he was by himself. And I remember that one scene. There's this thing within the martial arts community. Are belts really important? Right? Are the belts really important? I mean, the belts are nothing but to really keep your pants up, right? Um, in my system, we do have a belt system, right? But we don't put so much emphasis on that, right? It's like, I'm like, oh, I'm a senior student. No, that just means you have more responsibility. It doesn't mean you're over anybody else. You just have more responsibility. That's all that means in my system, in the school that I'm in. But there's that one scene where when they were checking in Daniel, he was like, "What belt is he? Does it matter?" Yeah, it does. We only take him brown or black belt. He goes, he's a black belt. And then you see Mr. Miyagi kind of steal somebody's belt, gives it to Ali so she can sneak it into the back. And so for him, it's like, keep in mind, Johnny must have been doing karate for years, right? While Mr. Miyagi taught, taught Daniel in a matter of weeks, maybe months. I don't really recall how long that was, and how he rose to the championship level. He rose to the championship level, and so then you ask yourself, do belts really matter? They're within the martial arts industry. That's always been not a heated debate, but it's always been a debate of discussion where we're like, does it really matter? I'm like, oh, does it really? Kind of stuff. Was that there in the beginning? No, it wasn't, but it is a way. And honestly, it's more of a marketing strategy, in my opinion. It is when you have a little kid who's training martial arts, and then they need to see constant progress into their art, and then the parents need to see constant progress to their training. That's where the belt system comes in. Oh, they get a stripe. Oh, they get the next belt. Like, and then and the kids are happy. So if it gives my student self confidence, why not? I'm always for it. But is it absolutely necessary? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. With the short of giving them goals for them to accomplish, belts are not really necessary, in my opinion. So that was, to me, was really great. And then of course the most iconic, I mean, not the most, but the finality scene, where he kicks Johnny in the face and then makes him win. Now this is where I thought, like, Johnny's character really turned as far as the bully mentality. He was the one that handed Daniel the trophy, right? He was the
Yeah.
one that handled Daniel the trophy, and to me, that's the respect level right there. That's
Yeah,
the respect level.
because I recently watched it, right before we did this. I'd never recalled that moment, even having saw the Cobra Kai, this past year to catch up. I don't
Right,
remember that moment that he actually was the one that handed him the trophy. So that was like, oh wow. So even back then, and then now with the new Cobra Kai series, there was that shift in his character, which kind of
right,
made sense with the new, Cobra Kai's.
right. Well,
And
we'll definitely talk about that
yeah,
when we get to the Cobra Kai series. But
yeah.
I just love the fact, like I said, I mean, this is the greatest thing about martial artists, right? When we fight each other, I don't care. I mean, and I tell this to my students, I don't care if you win or lose. I really don't. I'll be just as proud of you if you lose as if you won, as long as you give 110% in every fight, right? And then the more important thing is, not only are you gonna gain respect from me, You're gonna gain respect from the guy across from you, but you're gonna respect yourself. That you didn't give up, that you pushed this all the way to the end. And then when you see your opponent be the one either shakes your hand or says, man, that was a great fight, right? I mean, it just the brotherhood or the bond is generated, and it's an amazing feeling. I have friends from other schools that that beat me, kind of stuff, and we're still friends. We're
Yeah.
still friends because it's not about the hatred thing. It's just like I just want to be better. I just want to be better. So for me, that was a very pivotal change within Johnny's character to hand him the trophy. It's not just because he's the champ, that guy's the champion, but now you've earned my respect.
Yeah.
And I think that's the ultimate thing.
Yeah, having, like I said, not recalling seeing that, ages ago, but seeing it again now, like, and now that I know, we've seen the Cobra Kai stuff, and we'll get to that. But I would love to seen them now become friends. Like, I wish we could have had that moment of
Yeah.
storyline, because he did do
Right.
that. There was
Right.
now respect with each other, but
Right.
but we're gonna get into part two in a second. But just,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
now having seen that again, like, not forgetting that had happened. Yeah. Now, wouldn't you agree? Would you have loved to seen them, like, build a friendship now
Oh,
after that?
oh, totally. I would have loved to see them actually bond more, where Ali
Yeah.
gets jealous because he spends more time with Johnny, kind
Yeah.
of stuff. It's like I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to actually, I would have loved to actually, that they actually become really good friends through the whole thing, kind of stuff. And then, but at the same time, it's kind of like, you don't have to like the person you respect, right? You don't have to like the
True.
person. So
True.
maybe, I mean, I think more realistically, they could have just finished their high school career without being friends, but at the same time respect each other.
Yeah.
But I think that would have been I would have loved to see them be buddies, right? I
Yeah.
would have loved to see them be buddies, but I
Then it would
think
change all of
the
Cobra Kai, though that we
well,
then
totally
got
changed
to
over
enjoy.
Cobra Kai, exactly. But
So,
at the same time, I think the thing with the girl definitely, like, yeah, we're not gonna be friends, man. So it's just we're not gonna be friends. Like, we're not gonna compare notes. I
yeah.
mean, in reality, okay. So just quick side note, like, I've been invited to an ex-girlfriend's wedding, and I'm like, no. I'm not going,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, she's walking down the aisle in her dress, and I'm like, why are you wearing white, liar? You know, we know that's not true. You want,
Yeah.
girl. And so, yeah, so I think that the thing with Ali was a little that must have cut deep, because clearly, like, Johnny really liked her. Maybe he was even in love with her,
Yeah.
right? He was
Yeah.
really in love with her, and this new guy just came about and just decided to, ruin things for him in his mind's eye, maybe. So
Yeah. Before we get to part two now, and I just want to say, seeing that again, Allie with the eye,
yeah.
Elizabeth Shue, who played Allie with the eye, she has not changed. You know,
Oh,
she's now
no.
on Amazon Prime's The Boys, but
Right.
she is. You can see, yeah, she is older now, but, like,
Of course.
I
Still gorgeous.
she hasn't changed. Like, she looks the
Yeah,
same. I
exactly.
gotta say,
Right.
there's an
Right.
older to her, but to me, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, when,
hasn't
like,
changed at all.
was that movie with her and Nicolas Cage leaving Las Vegas or something like that?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That too. That
Yeah,
too.
yeah. So so I followed her career for a little bit. So, but yeah, no, I mean, and she was in Back to the Future, was she? No,
No, no, no.
no, that's not her. Sorry, I'm thinking of
Yeah,
somebody else. I'm
but
thinking of
yeah,
somebody
just
else.
shout
So
out to
yeah,
her, because generally, uh, people don't age that well, and she aged very well. So shout out to her.
absolutely, absolutely,
Respect to her.
absolutely. Respect her.
So, why don't you do part two, bro? Why don't you bring in the
Sure.
storyline of part two?
Okay, so
Because
very
I know
much
it's your
excited.
favorite of the series.
It is my favorite of the series. Part two. Now the storyline is it's apparently it's now their senior year in high school, and Ali, the famous Ali, is now dating somebody else. So now she broke Daniel's heart. So maybe they could have bonded after that. I don't know, but but then Daniel's mom was gonna go take care of her uncle who was sick, and so now he would have to go to Fresno with his mom just because she can't be by himself. And then Mr. Miyagi goes, he's like, I want you to just, focus on your training, focus, clear your mind. So they're hitting the hammer. And then he's like, what are you building this room for? Oh, I'm taking in a refugee. He goes, from where? From Fresno. I was like, what? I already talked to your mom. You're going to stay with me during the summer. I got you. I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Right. But then, unfortunately, there was the mailman comes in and he said, there's a letter for Mr. Miyagi from Okinawa. And you can see at that moment, Mr. Miyagi's like energy changes. And clearly he probably hasn't had a letter from Okinawa in years, right? And then that's when he found out his dad was dying. And he hasn't seen his dad since he left Okinawa many, many, many moons ago. So now he has, he has to go back to Okinawa. And now Daniel couldn't stay with him, of course, because now nobody's going to be there. And so he's getting his passport, he's getting all this stuff ready. And then this right before that, he was waiting for Daniel to say goodbye, but he couldn't wait any longer. They got on the taxi, and then next thing you know, Daniel's right there chasing him at the gate. And now they're going and asking Mr. Miyagi if he can go. And now Mr. Miyagi and Daniel are now going to Okinawa. And now Daniel's going to see where Miyagi-Do Karate was born, and then see where Mr. Miyagi grew up. So this is like the story, like a story of Mr. Miyagi and how he got through that, and the relationship that how walking down through memory lane. And this is why this is my favorite episode, because now things got real. And of course, just like in Karate Kid 1, there was a girl that made things different, and there was another bully. So bullies are something that everybody has to deal with in any side of the ocean. Bullies are everywhere. And then the biggest thing was Mr. Miyagi's best friend Sato, right? There was a girl between them too, right? There was a girl that Mr. Sato was supposed to marry, but he professed that he loves that girl. And now Mr. Sato, his best friend, his BFF, he broke the bro code. Mr. Miyagi broke the bro code. And Sato challenges him to an honor death match. And instead of fighting him, Mr. Miyagi left. And this is the first time that they're seeing each other. And this is why it's a lot more meatier of a story arc than the first one. But definitely, it's such a great movie. So, brother, what are your thoughts on the part 2?
Yo, what I love about this is, and as a kid too, when I first saw this, I've always wanted to go to Japan, and this was the film that made me fall in love with Japan. And also, to me, as a kid, one of the first films that really showcased culture, whether it be, any of the films I've seen, but like just the love that was shown for the culture of Okinawa and Japan, and just the Asian, just made me swell with Asian pride as a young kid, even then. And like when I get older, I want to go to Okinawa and see all these beautiful things. But I loved it. And one of my first crushes was Tamlin Samita. And hey, she was just beautiful, who eventually was, well, Daniel LaRusso's love interest in this film. But just that tea scene, we get to see Miyagi, I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but Miyagi, meets his old flame, and then they see them doing it. And then when Daniel does it with her, right before this rainstorm tsunami comes through, was just beautiful, so beautiful, man. There was
also that one scene where Mr. Miyagi asks his ex or his flame, like the girl that he was in love with, like, how did you know where to write? Send me the letter. And he goes, I've always known. He goes, why you never write before? And she's like, out of respect. And then he goes, no. Well, then so he goes, because of husband. So Mr. Miyagi thought she married Sato, and she goes, no, out of respect for your side, because you left or something like that, right?
That was heartbreaking, bro.
That was heartbreaking, man.
Yeah.
She was the girl, man. She was the girl for him, and then she never married, all those times that she never married, kind of stuff.
And so that's Asian culture, man. It's like it's like, we got to get past that shit.
I got to get past that. We got to get past that. And then another Okinawan tradition that I thought was very beautiful, when Kumiko was throwing the rice, or like in the ocean, and he goes, so this is an old tradition that when fishermen leave, the wives would throw the rice in the water. He says, oh, for a good catch, no, for a quick return. And that was her way of saying goodbye to Daniel. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I'm so single. Oh man, I'm so single. I'm like, why are you wasting rice, girl? That's food. Dang it. That's way more than this much line of water. You're throwing it in the ocean. But yeah, I mean, but that was such a beautiful, and you're right, the tea ceremony was absolutely beautiful. And what I really respect about what the writers and the character of Daniel was doing, he was definitely showing respect to the Okinawan culture, right?
Yeah.
He was genuinely trying to know as much as he can. Remember, he had a big book that he was reading the whole plane while Mr. Miyagi was trying to sleep. He's like, no, let's talk about it tomorrow. Shut up, I'm trying to sleep. Right? But he had mad respect for the Okinawan culture. Mad, I mean, he didn't know everything, and he was asking a lot of questions. Absolutely, and that to me, that's great. But he definitely had mad respect for the Okinawan culture. He wasn't trying to change things, and and just trying to do the things that is right and is just. But again, Daniel is like, I ain't no punk. I ain't no punk. And it's like when that guy, what was his character's name? Where the Sato's nephew was trying to cheat those other villagers by using different kinds of weights, kind of stuff.
Yes.
He's like, you cheat. Yeah.
And I want to point out a particular character in that piece. When he finds out that they were cheating, Daniel sees this guy, villager, who was getting ready to get his, everything weighed and everything. That actor, that villager character is played by Arsenio Sonny Trinidad, who is Filipino. And I actually worked with him in the first film that I ever worked on as an actor, Ace Ventura 2: When Nature Calls. He was our head monk, and I played one of the monks. He was the head monk of our monastery. And it was amazing because I totally forgot. I knew he did a long body of work and was a big actor in the Philippines, and then came over to the States. And the claim to fame for when I met him, because I didn't realize that he was in Karate Kid at that moment as a young kid, was he had just done this Gatorade commercial with Michael Jordan, where Michael Jordan is running up this mountain, and here's Arsenio Trinidad who gives him a Gatorade, and so here he was as our head monk. And I was talking to him. He was the sweetest old man you could ever meet, man. And I was like talking to him about Michael Jordan, and then now, working with him on Ace Ventura with Jim Carrey. Shout out to Arsenio Sonny Trinidad. I don't know if he's alive or dead right now. It's been a long time.
Hit us up if you are. Hit us up, please.
But he's just brilliant. And I was like, wow, when I again, because I recently rewatched it, to see him in that film and be a part of just another piece of history, film history. But shout out to him.
That's awesome. But yeah, so that was, and then of course there was the big storm, right? And Sato was actually in the monastery praying, getting ready for the final fight between him and his best friend, Pat Morita's character, Mr. Miyagi. Big storm comes, and the whole place collapses on him. And then Mr. Miyagi was trying to help people, and then Sato was trapped under a beam. But then Sato's nephew said that he's dead, right? That he's dead. So, but him and Daniel went out there trying to lift this beam, and it was too heavy. So Mr. Miyagi, using his karate, he broke the beam, right? And then Sato's like, "Is this how you want to kill me, you coward? When I'm helpless?" Kind of stuff. And then he breaks it, and then now he carries, "Come on, old friend, let's go. And then so that was an iconic scene. And then now a girl, she was the bravest person in this whole village, by the way.
I have to say, the whole time, even because at the beginning part, before they, because they're Daniel and Tamlin are having that whole tea scene, she's chiming the bells then.
Right.
Having rewatched it again, and even it reminded me as a kid, like, when the hell is she gonna get in there? And you knew it was gonna be a problem. Right. Like, why didn't she get off of that?
She stayed there. The reason why I'm saying she's the real hero of this movie, because she stayed up there to make sure as many people. So it's a small village, So she knows who are still there, who's not there. So she's like ringing, the typhoon is coming, kind of stuff. She stayed up there, you know. First of all, I've been like, whoa, that's a little high. Maybe if I can shake the beam, it'll ring the bell. That's me. But she got stuck up there, right? And then so Mr. Miyagi and Daniel was about to, and then Sato goes, no, let me, right? So he climbs. I love him, by the way. I love. If I'm disrespecting anybody, I apologize, but I love him. So Daniel gets up there, uses his belt to remove the electric wires. It takes her down. Sato carries the little girl inside, and he looks at his nephew. He's like, "To you, now I am dead." Right? And then now the shame, like you can feel the shame kind of creeping into that guy, the nephew, and he runs out. And also Sato immediately regrets it. Saying, "Come back." And then you see Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi, comforting his friend, right? And to me, that was such. That little girl was the hero of that movie. She was she was the Wonder Woman of that movie, because she stayed up there regardless of the danger for her. It's keep in mind that this is a thunderstorm, right? This is a typhoon with lightnings, and she's up on a pole. Not a good idea with a metal bell. Not a good idea. A lot of things could go wrong, but she went up there because it was her job, or she was trying to save as many lives as she could. And kudos to that character and to the people that actually does that for to save their little town. And then I think the next scene that kind of really changes was that the village is in ruins. The village is absolutely in ruins. And then you see Sato and his truck started pulling in. And Sato, being the richest person on the island, he has drivers, and the driver was about to open it, like, no, I'll open the door. And he puts it in this beautiful, like dark red, case, the deed to the village, right? And then hands it to Mr. Miyagi. That's a very iconic, very, very respectful moment, and very humbling moment for Sato. And I love that scene. And then that's when Daniel was saying, hey, we should have the bong dance in the castle, that's where it's supposed to be. And Sato goes, bong dance will be held at castle now and forever. And everybody just cheers. And then he tells them, only one condition, you dance with us. So you can tell the shift in Sato was like, no, I was wrong. The hate was wrong. This is what it's about. And now he's very apologetic to Mr. Miyagi and Daniel, and it's just a beautiful scene. What were your thoughts on that, brother?
It was beautiful, and because you don't get, well, again, growing up here in America, and most of my characters in our films are all white characters. Here again, like I said, this film made me fall in love with the culture of Japan, Okinawa, and just
mostly Okinawa,
so many Asian characters in one film. That unless I was watching like a Chinese kung fu flick, I wasn't gonna get that in a regular American film. So I thought it was beautiful and just brilliant, and got to see, and generally, a lot of older male leads are like very masculine, or very just, here we got them coming into an awakening of their wrongs, and now making it right. It was just beautiful to see that.
Absolutely. And then I love that you brought that up, because I can't not talk about this scene. And we talked about this, like my most favorite scene, what made me really fall in love, this is why this is my favorite of the franchise, was right after Mr. Miyagi's dad died. Oh, I should have probably said spoiler alert. That movie was in the 80s, man. If you haven't seen it by now, that's not a spoiler alert. I'm sorry. Everybody dies, but whatever. So when that scene, right after Mr. Miyagi's father passed away, and Mr. Miyagi, Okinawan, very, 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 very macho kind of stuff, but he was feeling it. He was feeling it. Now, I've lost my dad, so I know what he's going through. And then he's sitting at, on the rocks by the shore, looking at the ocean, just trying to just process it as stoically, as quietly as he can. And this is the moment for me where Daniels was at the moment switches role, where he was the one now offering some sage, wise advice to Mr. Miyagi. And then we talked about this, like the single mom driving across country. Well, she wasn't a single mom because they got a divorce. she was a single mom because she's a widow. And then that's when Daniel was talking about when my dad died. But my dad loved me because that's who dads are, and he will always love me. And then Mr. Pat Morita, God rest your soul. The beautiful acting of this man, you see him tear up, and that one tear coming down the cheek, and then he really appreciated that Daniel was there to be there for him, and it's, he can be vulnerable with him. As a teacher, I've always believed that I always have to be 100 with my students, and if you talk to them, they will always tell you, I try to be as honest as I can. They'll tell you that because I don't give them a choice. They have to say that. I'm just kidding. It's true. But no, but I try to be 100 with my students, and at that moment, because that, it's the connection is, it's really, really strong. I mean, it's really, really strong. It's a connection, a bond that you'll never have with anybody else, right? And in that scene, Daniel really, really wanted to help his teacher the most that he can, and his teacher felt safe enough to be vulnerable around him. And that if for any martial artist who watches this series, or this podcast, just what that means. How our teachers, we put them in a pedestal, we see them as this tough, badass of a person, and but for Mr. Miyagi to cry like that, that's when he really showed his real strength. So I love this movie. And then of course the ultimate thing in this movie was there was a real life and death battle between Daniel and Sato's nephew. I can't remember his name. I should have done my homework, but I can't remember his name. Forgive me, folks. But yeah, there was that battle. Now, what's the name? Well, Kimiko, right? The girl.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up real quick while you're talking.
Thank you. So she's a badass because basically she was doing this special dance as an entertainment for the bone dance, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, why are we all green? Why is it all green? Why are we green, Pat?
Oh, I don't know.
It's kryptonite. Oh, I'm getting weaker.
Yeah. Oh, now it's gone.
Oh, that was weird. That was weird. Okay. So she was doing a dance, and all of a sudden you see somebody flying through the cables, and it was Sato's nephew, and threatens to kill her if he and Daniel did not have a life and death match. And then of course Daniel, being the hero himself, was ready to cross the bridge, and Mr. Miyagi goes, "This is not tournament. This is for real." Right?
Chosen is the nephew's name, by the way. Chosen.
Thank you. Chosen. Yeah, so and then he was like saying, "You're your uncle's number one pupil," and his uncle was like saying, "Hate is wrong." And he goes, "I don't hear you anymore, uncle. Remember, you're dead to me." Right? And so when he crossed the bridge, it was the first time that this is the real reason why you do martial arts. Like we talked about, it's there to protect your loved ones, not because you want to win trophies, or not you want to be a badass, because you want to protect your loved ones. And much kudos to Kimiko. She fought back. So that's she's the type of girl that back in the day, when you as a gentleman, you open the door for her, she sits down, but she's the type of girl that will lean over to make sure that the other door is unlocked for you, kind of stuff, right? That's legit, a lady right there. And she tried to fight the guy back, and of course the guy's a punk. He hits a girl, and and then they fight, and and it was a beautiful thing. And then to notice that one scene where everybody had the drums, right? And the secret to Miyagi-Do karate, everybody had drums. I'm like, wow, okay, everybody. It's something that everybody wears over there, and I didn't know much about the culture, but apparently they do. And then that's when he was able to defeat Chosen and save the girl. Beautiful, beautiful scene. But yeah, this is one of the reasons why I love. This is my favorite out of all three of the original Karate Kid movies, is because of that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts, brother?
Again, brilliant, man. Again, the thing with the drums, to harken back to that when they brought it at the end, at the finale, was just amazing, man. And we're gonna get into 3, but it's like I wanted these characters to all stay together. It was just amazing. It was truly a love story. But then we're gonna get into 3, and I just loved it. I'm with you. Part 2 is my favorite of the franchise, although it's hard to in order to have part 2, you had to have part 1. So, but part two ekes it out because of the cultural standpoint for me, and I'm Asian, and so I love my people and my culture. So, and then the representation there
Of
is what
course,
places it above Karate Kid 1. But to
of
me, 1 and
course,
2 are the classics. Three's
of
three's
course.
good, and we'll get into 3 in a second.
Right.
But to me,
But
1 and 2 stand out, but 2 is my fave.
I mean, let me just say this again. Kudos to the writers of Karate Kid 2. How many movies do we know that the sequel is better than the original?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many
Very true.
movies do we know that the sequel was better than the original? I
Hmm.
mean, I think the other one that I can think off the top of my head is T2, Terminator 2,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm with you on
That,
that. I'm with you
I
on
mean,
that.
how many movies do we know where the sequel was better than than the first movie,
You're
right?
right, bro.
I mean,
You're right.
I mean, this is why it's such a legendary movie,
Yeah.
right? It's such a legendary movie, so I love it. So, brother, why don't you take us away for part three?
All
Give
right,
us
so
the
part
premise.
3, we open up kind of again, which I love that they did in part 2. They kind of give you what happened before.
Right,
Again, in the intro piece, like the first 5 to 10 minutes, and we recall back to the big tournament in part 1, and with Johnny Lawrence losing, and
mhm.
Martin Cove's character of John
John
Kreese
Kreese.
is
Yep.
not very happy because we don't take no prisoners, and you should have
Right,
won, and losers aren't good on his book. So we
right,
get to see what happened after the tournament, and
right,
essentially as they were walking out after the tournament, um, Kreese is giving the 1-2 on Johnny Lawrence right by his
right,
car, and throws him into a chokehold, and
right.
he's not happy at all, and
Yeah,
Daniel Russo and Miyagi come out, see that going down. Miyagi walks over.
right,
Why are you doing that? And
right,
he releases the hold on Johnny and starts to
right,
fight Mr. Miyagi. Bad move,
right.
dumb decision, and
Yeah,
takes a,
dumb
takes a
decision.
takes a swing, and his
Right,
swing goes right through a car window, bloodies up
right.
his hand. Then he
Yep,
throws another one, bloodies up his other hand,
right,
and Miyagi then puts him into a hold
right,
and looks like he's getting ready to strike,
right.
but then
Never die. Yeah,
does the famous honk honk on the nose,
right,
which was
right,
just
right,
brilliant, man. I thought it was
right.
great to
And
get
then,
that
yeah,
finish there. What did you think of
right.
coming back in part 3 to get that opener right there?
I think, I mean, if that scene didn't happen, we won't understand Cobra Kai. I'm gonna
Yeah,
tell you right now.
yeah,
If that scene didn't happen, we would not understand Cobra Kai, and we'll talk about it in another episode. But yeah, if that scene didn't happen, we would have not. But then you saw Mr. Miyagi's wisdom because he actually didn't really fight John Kreese. He just moved out of the way, and this is one of the reasons why in my martial arts system in my school, I always tell my students the number one rule for defense is don't be there, right? And so when he steps out, he breaks he breaks the other window, and then he tries to punch him with the other hand. He breaks the other window. I'm sure the owners of the cars were like, "What the hell, bro? Like we're just parked here. Why are you messing up our cars, man? Right?" And but then and then he's like, live or die, right? And of course, Mr. Miyagi did not kill him. But Daniel asked him, like, why you could have killed him? Why didn't you do it? He goes, because sometimes living is worse than the worse punishment than death. And then you segue into months later. John Kreese is now, disheveled. He's losing everything. You walk into his studio, he has no more students, bills piling up, and that's it. He's folding. He is folding. He not only lost, he lost his students, but he's losing everything that he had. And then the next scene is that he's driving up to this rich man's house, right? And he says, I don't know when I'm going to pay you back. Like, screw the money, right? And apparently it's a wartime buddy that he has, Silver, right? And Silver was like saying, okay, I'm going to get revenge for you, right? I'm going to get revenge for you. You're going to go to
I
Fiji.
gotta
You're going to
say,
get
Silver's that's a buddy right there, through and through, for everything
absolutely.
that he did.
Oh, for sure.
Yo, he really had his
mean,
back.
he had his buddies back for sure. And he had the whole the Steven Seagal look kind of stuff with the slick hair kind of stuff. But he
Evil as
definitely
hell.
had,
Don't get me wrong. He was
well, evil as hell.
evil,
Right.
but
That was
that's your
he
bro.
was
But he was a true bro.
That was ride or die brother right there.
Yeah.
That was his ride or die brother. Not taking anything away from that. That's his ride or die brother. He's like, he didn't care about the money. He never cared about the money because he was already, clearly he was a multimillionaire, right? And then so you know, for the wrong reasons, because it's like his company throws away toxic waste. And you have to understand, I mean, you have to understand how great those social, you know, issues that they're throwing in there in every one of these movies, right? Those social issues that they're throwing in there. And again, like, this is what makes you hate the character more. He's ruining the environment, you know, kind of stuff, right? But he was absolutely 100%, no doubt. That was his road dog right there. That was his ride or die buddy right there. So that was absolutely amazing. And then of course the scene is they're in the airport. He drops off John Kreese and Pat Morita or Mr. Miyagi, and Daniel comes back. And now we go into the relationship between Daniel and Mr. Miyagi finally goes through a growing pains, right? We finally go through growing pains, and Daniel wanted to go into business he wanted to help Mr. Miyagi for all the things he done. He buys him this. They go back to the apartment. First of all, they go back to the apartment. The apartment was closed. They were shutting down, and now they needed to find a new job. And Daniel buys a lease on this commercial property, so Mr. Miyagi can start selling his bonsais, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but hold on. Let's pause real quick on that
Sure.
thought. Coming off of part 2, we find out that Kumiko, she wanted to become a ballerina,
Right.
took a dance company position in somewhere in Japan, I think, right? Or in Tokyo.
I think it was London.
Oh, London. Okay.
I can't. Oh, okay. We'll
right.
we'll find out later.
And we're gonna find out because she is gonna make a return in season 3 from the trailer.
Exactly.
I just wanted to point that out because we are gonna get the beautiful Tamlin Samita again. But then I think I missed it in this rewatch. What happened to his old flame, to Miyagi's old flame? Why? Because remember, she expressed in part 2 that she wanted to come with him back to the States in part 2.
Right. Well, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I'm guessing, complete conjecture, right? He's probably not as quick to get a visa.
True.
You know, it's probably
and I think they did say that he built her a house, you know, because of all the destruction. So he built her a house, but why didn't she still come back?
Well, I think he gave her his dad's house. And oh, by the way, okay, I mean, how cool is it that your son's ex-girlfriend, right, is taking care of his dad? How awesome is that? Man, where do you get those kind of women? I don't understand. Ladies. I mean, that's awesome. My mom one time asked me, like, you know, like, would you let me live with you when you get married? I'm like, of course, mom. You stay with me or out there, you know, which, you know, you pick or, you know, keep changing every month. I don't care, whatever you want. Right. And, you know, and then she's like, what if your wife doesn't like it? Then she won't be my wife, you know, kind of stuff. Like, it's like, that's part of the culture. So, but she's not related to this guy. I hope not. Oh, that would be the family tree don't fork all of a sudden. Oh, that's a whole different dimension. Oh, let's not go there. But she was taking care of her ex-boyfriend's, right, dad. And for many years, apparently, for many years. So yeah, so maybe he gave her the house. I think he did say that, like, when right before the big match, like, Kumiko's getting a house in Okinawa, you're getting the house in Reseda, you know, back in California. So that was pretty amazing. So yeah, but maybe it could be like an immigration thing, and we don't know if she actually came over after the movie, because when we did the next Karate Kid with Hilary Swank, there was no mention of it. You know, there was no mention of it whatsoever. Maybe she did. Who knows? We don't know. So yeah.
So unpause. My bad. I just wanted to point that out because we both love part 2, and you know we found out, you know, immediately what happened with Kumiko, but like I don't know if I had missed what happened with Miyagi's flame.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know either. I don't know. I mean, that's a good, you know, follow up. Hey, Will Smith, if you guys can figure that out for us, let us know. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so that was that. Now, what I like about now, so of course, Silver has this diabolical plan to break the connection between Miyagi and Daniel. And again, kudos to his character. He was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. You know, I mean, he definitely had mind games and mind warfares, and that's where we also, you know, that's And then he was saying that John Kreese has died. You know, by the way, they said that also in Cobra Kai. Like, how many times is that gonna die? But whatever. So, but yeah, and then and then they hired this hired gun, karate phenom also from somewhere else, to bully Daniel, and then so Daniel, like Mr. Miyagi, always believed that tournaments were not really important. Karate is for defense only, right? It's for protecting your loved ones. It's about protecting your honor. But now there's no honor in this. You already, so that's when Daniel had to start training for the tournament by himself, right? And then Silver was opening up Cobra Kai again, and he was going to teach him for free. And that's when, the Cobra Kai philosophy started permeating and started digging deep into Daniel's psyche, to the point where he even broke a guy's nose, right? You remember that one scene? He broke a guy's nose, and he was so lost. And Mr. Miyagi was just like, "I'm just trying to be here for you. I'm just trying to be my friend. I'm just trying to be your friend," kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And so there was growing pains. This is the first time we see an actual conflict between Mr. Miyagi and Daniel. And Mr. Miyagi was at a loss. He didn't know how to deal with this, right? That one scene where Daniel asked him to teach him how to do the sweep. And for my non-martial artist friends here, a sweep is basically just taking your foot and sweeping your opponent's foot so they fall down to the ground. So he was saying, "Can you just teach me that?" And Mr. Miyagi came out with a broom, and he thought he was joking. And I think Mr. Miyagi really was genuine. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll teach you how to sweep." I mean, I don't know what you meant, right? Kind of stuff.
And a combination of both.
Maybe.
Yeah, I agree with you. It could have been just that, but I think at the same time, Miyagi just knew with just some of the tendencies he's been exhibiting.
Right.
So yeah. But yeah. Because I'm trying to remember, did the whole request to join, and because he kept on bugging him. Will you sign this paper? All I have to do is just compete one match,
right.
So I'd have to check that out again.
He doesn't have to fight. He doesn't have to fight. He doesn't have to work himself up to the championship.
It's a comedic sequence as well. It's hilarious. Like,
it was hilarious.
You sweep. But,
exactly.
Yeah.
And then of course, when the truth was revealed that John Kreese was still alive and Silver was trying to, manipulate them all, of course, Mr. Miyagi came running to Daniel's rescue. And that's when he's like, even though there was a rift between them, he wasn't going to let Daniel, go through this alone, right? Kind of stuff, right? And then so immediately, he came in. Now, the funniest scene in that movie, I love that scene of this movie. I'm going to say this, fight me on this one, right? Was when Mr. Miyagi, when it was, Martin Cove and what's his name? Thomas Ian Griffith, the guy who plays Terry Silver, right? They're about to fight Mr. Miyagi, and they like party time. Like they bow at each other. And then John Kreese like, "We're old friends," right? So he beats him up. Like, Mr. Miyagi beats him up without a problem. And then, Silver was like, "Come on, little man. Let's see how good you really are." It's like, whoa. And then, of course, Mr. Miyagi had no problem kicking his ass, throws him behind against the mirror, and then the paint falls on him. And then Mr. Miyagi goes, whoa. Every single time I laugh at that scene. Whoa. Now, I don't know if that was on the script or that's Pat Morita, the comedian, whatever. Whoever decided that, I love you. I love that scene because it was such a serious scene. And also he goes, whoa.
I'm completely with you. Just bro, just overall, and we'll give our final thoughts because we're almost done with it.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And before we forget, I again, and just in regards to this brilliance,
right?
They handle these characters so well. The stories are so well done, but the symbology thing, there's like the element of the bonsai tree. Like there's this whole sequence where they go to get this bonsai tree on the side of this cliff.
Right.
But it was, he works with a girl because they started this bonsai business. He wants pots with the bonsai tree on it. And then the amount of money for this, which becomes a story element.
Right.
Just nothing is wasted. If they talk about it, if they present it, they're gonna get it back to it in some way. And just kudos again on the writing and showcasing that. But just amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, that one scene where Mr. Miyagi shows the tree that was broken is like, see, this is like you, whose road it's healing. It's deep, right?
Yes. Love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And just quick FYI, the person who played the girl, her name is Robin Lively, who is whose sister is married to Deadpool.
Oh,
Blake
oh yeah.
Lively. Yeah, that's
Oh
their sisters.
snap.
Yeah, they're sisters. So but yeah, so big, family in Hollywood. But yeah, so that scene with like when it was Mr. Miyagi rappelling down the side of the mountain with him and putting back the bonsai tree, like where he put it there. Now, natural bonsais are worth tens of thousands of dollars, right? The tens of thousands of dollars. But that was something that is like, this is why I'm bringing this to America. But yeah, that was the most iconic scene of that. And then when the final, when they were training, and again, this is what's again old school training versus new school training, right? Old school training, I'm sorry, new school training, he's breaking boards, he's fighting and fighting and fighting. But Mr. Miyagi just kept doing kata with him, the dance. He just, because the conflict, what I'm sensing, the conflict with Daniel is not the physical, but the spiritual. It's the emotional. And I've done forms in Filipino, what we call it sayaw, which means dance in Filipino, in Tagalog. So I've done sayaw. It's one of the things I love to do within the martial arts. It is a very calming effect. Just kind of you're so focused on the accuracy and the soft movement. You're doing soft, you're doing hard, you're doing fast, you're doing slow. It's all your own self-expression about it. He was calming and like kind of fixing his soul in a sense, right? And that in the final battle scene, and I'm gonna get to that, the final battle scene where the score was it could go either way. All of a sudden Daniel started doing the kata, right? He started, and I'm sorry, I gotta take a step right behind that. And like Daniel was saying, I'm afraid. And Mr. Miyagi goes, it's okay to lose opponent, but must not lose to fear. And this is why I say with my students, as long as you give me 110%, you have won. You have won, because it's like you're afraid, there's something that's holding back in you. I've always believed that the biggest opponent in any match, in any battle, is not the guy in front of you, but the quitter inside of you. And so when Mr. Miyagi goes, it's okay to lose to opponent, but must not lose to fear. And that's when Dad goes, I'm afraid. He goes, ah! Time to let the good karate out now. This is it now. This is the moment now. And then that's when that calming training that he had woke up Daniel's karate. And then you saw the character, what's his name again? Mike Barnes. When he didn't know what to do. He did it, like hit him, and he's like, I don't know how to fight this guy. This is the difference between old school training and new school training. He had no clue what to do. He only knew how to fight one way. Daniel showed him another way, and this is why he won again that match. And that one scene where they were bowing each other, Daniel's, forget about it, I'm hugging you, kind of stuff. And that's, unfortunately, that was the last scene that they've ever, that wasn't the last scene, but that's the last movie they've worked together, that we see them working together. And it's just, you saw the relationship really grow. Mr. Miyagi, the teacher, Daniel is the student. Number two, for one brief moment, Daniel was the teacher, Mr. Miyagi was the student. Then number three, they had a conflict, they got through it, and now they're like family, really family now, kind of stuff. And oh my goodness, it's such a beautiful series. And the writers, much kudos to the writers. Even though the second one is my favorite, the third one is the funniest for me. The first one, of course, you can't have the other two without the first one. Absolutely, absolutely brilliant. And I'm so excited that Cobra Kai is now coming into fruition.
Yes. And stay tuned for our Cobra Kai season 1 and 2 breakdown, and then our eventual season 3. But for the first 3 films, man, again, like you said, they stand. I recently watched all 3. They stand the test of time. I'm as happy and excited and in love with it as when I first saw it. And as you were talking about, that ending lesson in part 3 with the tournament, and not being afraid. I remembered the moment in part 2 when Miyagi was talking to Daniel, where they're getting ready to have the death match, and he was getting ready to give him the will and testament. And he was like, no, you can still fight or whatever, or we can leave or whatever. He was like, I've already won, is what he told Daniel, because, you know,
Absolutely.
we, by
Right.
agreeing to this, all the people are going to, the villagers are going to get the village back or whatever, and he's going to build everything.
The
But,
village-
you know, he needs to do this.
Right.
And so it's just, just reminded me, essentially what you reminded me of, again, these amazing lessons that Miyagi
Mhm.
was teaching Daniel, but by virtue, though, teaching Daniel, teaching us as the viewer of following Daniel's journey, that just, to me, made him one of the most important icons in all of
Yeah.
film. And just
Absolutely.
why I love him
Absolutely.
so much, man. And so
You
again,
know,
rest in peace to Pat Morita, but just brilliance,
yeah.
brilliance.
Honestly, as a martial arts teacher, I model myself not only by how my teachers taught me, but the way Mr. Miyagi teaches. He teaches from a philosophical point of view. He wants you he wants you to understand that this is about more about the mind and the heart than the fist and the feet, you know.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing thing. But that one scene where I've had to do that for my students, where I had to, when they're ready to give up, when they have nothing left to give in their match, I have to give their, and you know, be the guy that gives them, that pulls out the warrior. I tell them there's a mandirigma inside of each and every one of you. There's a warrior that's asleep. Time to wake him up now, right? Time to
Yes.
wake him up now. And then that's what Mr. Miyagi did for Daniel. He's like, it's okay to lose to opponent, but you must not lose to fear. You cannot lose to fear. You have to fight the good fight, you know. And it's such a beautiful scene. And yeah, and unfortunately, that was, like I said, the last movie that we see Daniel and Mr. Miyagi together. But absolutely a beautiful movie. And you can still see the influence of this, especially when we talk about it in the Cobra Kai series, the Cobra Kai series.
Yes, yeah. There's some
Right.
elements that, but I'm gonna save it for our Cobra Kai conversation. But to put a
Right.
cap on this, and then again, stay tuned for our Cobra Kai season 1 and 2 breakdown with me and Francis. But for
Right.
right now, to put a cap on this 3-film trilogy, because we're not gonna really count the next Karate Kid with Hillary. We may do something down the line if we have time,
Right.
and also the one
Right.
with Jaden Smith
Right.
and Jackie Chan. But
Right.
for this 3 with Daniel LaRusso, Mr. Miyagi, just
Right.
outstanding writing for me. Well written
Absolutely.
characters, well written story in each film
Right.
that anyone can relate to, and just a philosophy that, you know, that I love to hear with you being a instructor, that you kind of imbued the greatness of Miyagi. Just I love it, man.
Yes.
And shout out to you guys who do that job to teach these young students
Thank
and
you.
teach people the way, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a commendable job, bro. And I just love it, man. Just outstanding. And
Thank you,
hey,
brother.
Hollywood, me and Mr. Francis Serrano, you know, while we love Cobra Kai and we're looking forward to it, and again, we're gonna break down the new season. We want a Miyagi series, and me and my
Heck
man
yes!
have a whole idea that if
Will
y'all hit us
Smith.
up, we are ready to break it down. Because I'm
Yes,
ready for
Will
a
Smith,
Miyagi
Fresh
series,
Prince.
bro. I want a
Mr.
Miyagi
Smith.
series too.
Okay,
Why
exactly.
not?
We're saying this right now on December 29th, 2020. You know, the year of our Lord 2020. Here it's 7:23 in California. So yeah, listen, look, we have a lot of ideas. Just hit us up, Mr. Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
Yeah.
We got some great ideas. We're ready. But think about it, guys. Come on, a Miyagi series, right? The
And we're thinking
original Karate Kid.
prequel, so it doesn't take away from the greatness that
Prequel.
is Pat Morita, because he
Exactly.
made such an amazing performance. But me and my man got an amazing story, bro. Because there's so many
Exactly.
things that
There's so many
we're ready to
things
tell
in
it.
it. So we're ready to tell it. So, anyways, but yeah, thank you so very much. I mean, the next time we're gonna see us, we're gonna be talking about the Cobra Kai first season 1 and 2, and then we're gonna watch season 3, and then we're gonna talk about that as well. So stay tuned. We're gonna definitely do more of the Karate Kid Cobra Kai's franchise. One of the best franchise in history, in my opinion, and we got a lot more to talk about. And of course, Mr. Will Smith, if you're watching, please talk to us, reach us out, and then let's do a prequel of Mr. Miyagi's story.
Yes, I love it, man, and I'm looking forward to doing this with you, big boy. Why don't you tell them how they can reach out to us so we can let them know about this Miyagi storyline?
Yeah, so you can email me at info@fmaschool.com. I am on TikTok at Big Boy Eskrimador, FMA School on Instagram, FMA School on Twitter, facebook.com/FMA School. I am there. We'll post the link on at the body of this of the post. And just reach us out, Mr. Will Smith. And as for those people who knows Mr. Will Smith, please share the video with them. Don't forget to hit like, click, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget that notification button so that you're aware of the latest reviews that me and my brother here are going to be doing in the future.
Yes. Salamat po, Kuya Francis, man.
Salamat
Appreciate
din.
you.
Maraming salamat. Okay, brother. Thank you so very much.
Can't wait to do more of this. You can follow me, Kuya P, at Strange Since 1977 and at Simple Faris, and here at the NRW at New Release Wednesday and at the Nerds of Color. All of that, man. We love y'all. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned to our Cobra Kai season 1, 2, and 3 breakdowns with me and the Guro, Francis Serrano of FMA School.
Later, brothers. Later, everybody. Bye.